Social networking in many ways is an example of the internet coming of age as a media, and not just being a technology platform on which people put the last generation of media. It's a uniquely architected interaction method that can only be done on an internet type technology platform. And I think advertisers and content creators are now looking at that and saying, don't we need to build our content and don't we need to build our advertising to be consistent with that kind of conversation?
So I'd say we're building the media company of the future. We think that bringing a content culture, a publishing culture, and a technology culture together inside of one company, looking at the way that consumer behaviors have changed over the last 10 years, and really kind of thinking, basically answering the question, if you could build the next great media company from scratch, starting with changing consumer behavior and modern technology, and a better understanding of how to create content more efficiently, what would you go build? We've seen distribution fundamentally change over the last 10 years. Consumers today expect their content on any device at any time, and they're in control of the programming. It's not what's on the newsstand or at 7 o'clock anymore. It's more often than not what people's friends are saying about interesting content to read that is driving consumption habits. And that's changed all the rules. HTML5 and modern JavaScript have really kind of freed up the interface so that we can create beautiful, engaging, responsive experiences on any device for consumers and create something that is akin to what consumers expected from glossy magazines 10, 15 years ago.
A few years ago, a technical co-founder was the secret ingredient to making your startup succeed. And we saw technical co-founders say, rather than being added to teams, we want to be the core of this team. And they emerged as leading with great ideas. It's still happening. It will always happen. The great engineering talent creates great companies. But we've also seen, perhaps as we've shifted to mobile applications being the primary delivery mechanism, that design is really becoming that inherent core critical ingredient that has to be part of a company's DNA from day one. Pulse is a great example, where you take a problem such as everyday news delivery and you completely revolutionize it based on how it's being delivered to the user. When you look at Pulse, it's not like reading the Wall Street Journal or picking up another blog online. This is a completely new experience. And so we said, what if we actually turned this to a program that actually enabled design to come forward, to be the differentiation in creating a business. The NEA Studio is a place for designer founders in New York to create their businesses hand in hand with a venture firm. We want to focus on pairing these entrepreneurs with other great founders in our portfolio, leveraging their experience, whether it be through fundraising or launching their product or hiring a team or thinking bigger about how they're actually attacking the market. That's what makes this different than other accelerators and incubators, and that's why it's special that NEA is actually behind it.
Design expertise is crucial, and it's one of those things that is hard to engineer, sort of a know it when you see it kind of a component of a company, but it's become an important feature in many of our investments.
Upworthy is a great place to find visual, meaningful, very shareable stuff and use it to throw attention to issues that matter. I think part of what we're beginning to learn on the web is that people don't pay attention to that right-hand rail, and what they want to find is curators who they trust, whose sensibility they understand, and who can lead them to content that they like. Whereas when we started, a piece might get 100,000 views because of what we've learned, because of the tools that we've built, because of the audience we've built. Now we're routinely getting in the millions of views, and that's just growing and growing. 80% of Facebook in the United States is a friend with someone who likes Upworthy.
A trend has arrived when you have multiple buzzwords to describe them. So whether you call it advertorials or native advertising or sponsored content, that trend is here today, and some of the largest and most sophisticated advertisers in the world have concluded they need to be part of the social web conversation in a different way.
3 years ago, when we looked about how we were going to monetize, there was a thought about would we do banners, and not doing banners made all the difference for us because they're not an effective ad product. They've been, around for 18 years, and everybody's always debated whether or not they're good or not. People don't debate whether good products are good. No one debates whether the iPad is good. It's just good. And content for us, branded content in the feed using the same technology that we use for our own organic content has proven to be a really impactful ad product for everybody from GE to Coca-Cola to Samsung, so on and so forth. And on BuzzFeed, we only do social content-driven advertising. We don't run any banners. 60% of our audience is 18 to 34. They have never subscribed to a newspaper, and they have always received the vast majority of their information online. And increasingly, they've always received the vast majority of their information on mobile via social.
There's a whole generation of young people and prospective consumers who've grown up with the internet, grown up with social networking, and they've trained themselves to ignore standard advertising on the page. And so many large advertisers are saying to themselves, an increasing part of web usage is this social world. How do we get our messages across? How do we, in fact, become publishers ourselves?
I think that when you look at great advertising from the 1950s and 60s, it was story-driven. It told you about what a brand cared about, stood for, what their aspirations and what their features were. It's only in the past 20 years that advertising became a call to action in a vacuum. Just buy my stuff. People love the branded content on BuzzFeed. It is so much better than the kind of welcome screen ad, that 300 by 250 that comes in your face. You got to click past to get to an article. Nobody wants that. And in fact, the click-through rates on our branded content units, are what we call our story units, our in-stream native ad unit, has gone up over time. And in mobile, it's even higher than it is on desktop. So people are liking our ads even more. I think what we're seeing happen in the advertising market online right now is a concave ad curve, and Goldman Sachs actually has showed this recently in a report, where at one end you have programmatic, very low-cost banners for direct response. At the upper end, you have social content-driven advertising, which is what we do at BuzzFeed, and in the middle, everything is falling out.
For years, the digital media industry has looked at this $60 or $70 billion that gets spent every year in the U.S. on TV advertising, and has looked at that pile of money longingly and has tried to figure out a way to tap into it. And I think the technology now and the capability of the networks and the capability of the devices are such that there's real, true TV quality experiences available online. We've got a whole new generation of young consumers who've grown up thinking that TV is something you can watch whenever you want.
Bedrocket is a media company that's focused on the millennial generation. We're creating cable-like programming delivered over mobile and the internet. When you talk to millennials, 25% of them now say they intend to get cable. 75% they feel like they have no reason to get it. It's because they're getting their media and entertainment over the internet. With portable media and nonlinear media, you are your own programmer. All the time becomes prime time. You're no longer tethered to your couch watching TV from 7 to 10 when the big media companies want you to watch it. Our view is that there's a huge opportunity for monetizing this incremental media time that never existed before. And there's a tremendous amount of value to create, even if the ratings remain stable or go up for prime time. Depending on what numbers you believe, broadcast share is down to 30%, 35%, and cable now has an aggregate share of 60 or 65%. I think that you're going to see those shares continue to shift. Ultimately, nonlinear is a better way of delivering entertainment. Linear existed just because the bandwidth and the technology didn't exist for people to say, this is what I want to watch right now. And so I think more and more you're going to see us working not just sort of in an entrepreneurial way, but actually with big rights holders and big media companies who are partnering with Bedrocket to help them reach this millennial audience that we specialize in.
One thing that clearly seems to me to have happened this year in a major way is that full video, sight, sound, and motion is really all over the web now in a different way. And it's a trend that's been coming. The complexity and sophistication of the endpoint devices has really improved. The network has improved. The video players have improved. And the percentage of time that people are spending consuming video content online is skyrocketing. I think NEA has concluded that there are some selected opportunities in digital content creation that we need to be a part of, and that it's going to be a big new market, and Bedrocket and some others we have are leaders in it.